Welcome back to the Suspense Story Podcast. We love to really dig into a story, and today we're taking a deep dive into one that's, it's dark and gritty and honestly pretty gripping. It's called Bunny by Oliver Gray. Oh, and before we go any further, a quick content warning for everyone listening. This one's got strong language and drug use and some violence, so just a heads up.
Yeah, you definitely got to be in the mood for something intense. But if you are, it's a story that really grabs you and it doesn't let go.
Right from the first page.
It takes you right inside the mind of this character who's like right on the edge, teetering there.
Yeah, and that character is Bradley Honaker.
Right.
And we meet him, and he is a mess. Just completely disheveled, sprawls out on this, bright orange shag carpet in just his dirty whitey-tighties.
And empty beer bottles everywhere. Like the whole place reeks of stale beer.
And the music blasting from this old Pioneer hi-fi.
Oh, yeah. What's he listening to?
It's like classic rock,
Yeah.
Mungo Jerry, CCR, Jimi Hendrix. It's like a 70s party gone very wrong.
It's like the author just throws you right into the scene. You can almost smell that stale beer and feel that carpet.
Like you're right there in the room with him.
Exactly.
So he's in this state, and he's convinced he's the last person on Earth.
Okay.
And get this, he thinks he got this information from the Easter Bunny.
Wait, what? The Easter Bunny told him this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So this delusion,
Right.
this whole Easter Bunny thing, that's our first sign that something's really off with this guy.
Right.
Makes you wonder about him, what's his mental state? What's his past? How did he end up like this? Alone and so paranoid.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to put together a puzzle. We have these pieces of setting the music, this crazy delusion.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how they all fit together.
Right. What made his world this way?
Exactly. And speaking of his world, he's got this grand plan. He wants to get a red 1982 Mustang GT from this dealership nearby. Like this symbol of freedom for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. But this guy can barely stand up. He's in such bad shape.
I know, right?
It's almost funny how he's dreaming of this Mustang when he can't even walk straight.
Yeah, it's like this total disconnect between what he wants and what's actually possible for him.
A little bit tragic.
Yeah, definitely. And that disconnect becomes even more clear when we get a glimpse into his past. We find out he used to be a drug dealer.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. He was supplying everyone from high school kids to even the mayor.
Wow.
With every kind of drug you can imagine. It's really rough. The author doesn't shy away from showing how bad it was.
So it's like a realistic portrayal of the drug trade.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. No sugarcoating at all. Just lays it all out there.
Interesting how he weaves that flashback into what's happening now with Bradley, all messed up and paranoid.
It's like his past is haunting him.
Like it's never really gone.
Yeah. Shaping how he sees everything. And then things shift again. There's this banging on his door.
Oh, no.
Out of nowhere. Breaking the tension. Bradley's startled. And I think we are too as readers.
Yeah, it's like we were in this weird calm before the storm.
And then bam. The real world comes crashing in.
I bet it's not the Easter Bunny.
You are correct. It's an FBI agent named Jimmy Butler.
Whoa. Okay, so now this is a whole different story.
Yeah, it's like the author took this slow burn character study and threw in a thriller.
I like it.
So now we've got all these new questions. Why is the FBI interested in Bradley? What does he know? And how is this all going to affect him in his state? Before we get into that, I want to mention something for our listeners who are loving these twists and turns.
Yeah.
The Suspense Story Collection has a ton of stories just like this one. Really captivating, makes you think.
It's perfect for anyone who likes psychological thrillers.
Yeah.
Crime fiction stories that go into the dark side of people.
There's something for everyone over there, so check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, now back to Bradley and this surprise visitor at his door.
Okay, so what happens next? Okay, so Jimmy Butler, he's not there for a friendly visit. Turns out Bradley is connected to this local bookie, and there's been a murder. Yeah, a guy named Johnny Stardust was killed in his dressing room at the Thunderbird Lounge.
Wait a minute, Johnny Stardust? The singer.
The one and only. And it seems like Bradley might know something about it, something that could help the FBI solve the case.
Wow, so now it's not just about this guy and his own problems. He could be caught up in something really big and dangerous.
Right.
It's like the story took a hard left turn.
Total shift in direction.
Keeps us guessing. I like it.
Yeah.
So how does Bradley react to all this? I mean, he's high as a kite and paranoid.
Yeah, well, the author did something really interesting here. He starts showing us things from two different points of view. We see what's happening through Bradley's eyes, all messed up. And then we also get Jimmy Butler's perspective, like a more grounded view.
That's a cool way to tell this story.
Yeah, it adds so much depth. We see Bradley's internal chaos, and then Jimmy's trying to be all calm and investigate.
It's like two different movies playing at the same time. And it works. You could feel the tension building, especially in that standoff at the door. Bradley just wants Jimmy to go away. He's like, F you.
Right. But Jimmy's trying to connect with him, get him to talk. He's like, hey, you know Johnny Stardust, right?
It's like Bradley wants to be in control, even though he's in a really bad way.
And Jimmy has to be careful because Bradley could just snap. And then things get even crazier.
What?
Jimmy pulls out a picture and shows it to Bradley. And that's how the story ends. On a cliffhanger, with Bradley's eyes wide with shock.
What? That's it. Talk about leaving us hanging. What do you think he saw in that picture?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the author's not telling.
So frustrating.
But brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, I guess so. Makes you want to keep reading and figure it out.
It could be anything, right? I mean, maybe it's something that, snaps him out of it. Brings him back to reality.
It's like a wake-up call.
Right, but then again, maybe it's something that makes him even more paranoid.
Oh, like it confirms all his worst fears.
Exactly. Either way, it's going to have a huge impact on him. I mean, we've seen how unstable he is. This whole thing with the FBI agent, the picture, I feel like this could push him over the edge.
It's like that moment when the real world crashes into the world you've built in your head.
Yeah, and you can't ignore it anymore.
It makes you think about the choices we make, like all the things that led Bradley to this point. Being a drug dealer, getting addicted, all of it.
It's a cautionary tale for sure, but there's also this element of hope. Like, he's still fighting to survive.
Yeah.
Even if his reality is all messed up.
Yeah, and that ending with the picture and no explanation, it kind of suggests that maybe there's a chance for him.
Like a possibility for change?
Even if it's just a tiny glimmer.
It's what makes this story so powerful. It gets under your skin and stays with you. Makes you think about your own life, your own choices.
Definitely. And it shows how good the author is at creating suspense. He doesn't have to explain everything. Just gives us enough to make our imaginations run wild.
And that's the beauty of it. We get to fill in the blanks ourselves.
Well said. And speaking of great stories for our listeners who want more like Bunny, with all the twists and turns and psychological depth, you need to check out the Suspense Story Collection.
Yeah, it's like a gold mine for fans of suspense, thrillers, mystery, anything that keeps you on the edge of your seat.
You'll find stories that take you to all these different worlds, introduce you to characters you won't forget. So go explore Suspense Story Collection. You won't regret it.
So much good stuff to discover.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Bunny, I think the biggest takeaway is that what we see as real is often just our own perception.
Yeah, we create our own stories, our own realities. And sometimes the stories can lead us to some pretty dark places.
But even in those dark places, there's always a chance for things to get better. A chance to change, to grow, to find the light again.
That's a good thought to hold on to, not just in stories, but in life, too.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Bunny. I hope you enjoyed it.
Me too. It's been a great discussion, and I hope it inspires everyone to keep reading and exploring new stories. Let your imaginations go wild.
That's what it's all about. Until next time, keep reading and keep those imaginations going. Thanks for listening to the Suspense Story Podcast.